Hi, everybody. Community update for April 29th, 2022. Just a quick reminder before we get into it that AUSD is hosting a job fair May 14th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Alameda High School gym. Please help us pass out that information to anyone who's interested. We are looking to talk to candidates for teaching positions, paraprofessional jobs, tradespeople, maintenance and custodial workers, substitute teachers, you name it. So any interested and qualified candidates that you may know, please pass that information on to them. I know we wanted to move these updates away from COVID, but I think there's been some developments this week that warrant us being very transparent and open to some things that are going on in the district around COVID. Uptick in cases countywide, likely heard that. Uptick in cases in AUSD this week. No uptick in hospitalizations. So I just want to say that AUSD is continues to strongly encourage indoor masking. Want to double down on that message just to make sure that we can make the last 6 weeks of school as smooth as possible, and with as least and have as least disruptions as possible during that time. A lot of important events happening for students as we move into, again, the last 6 weeks of school. A reminder here that the county-wide 7-day case rate is up a little, and we did see a notable jump in the cases that we confirmed this week in AUSD. Doesn't take us back to those very large numbers that we were seeing in January, but with 93 cases last week, that's certainly the biggest number we've seen in some time. So again, we're going to encourage people to be cautious, probably be a little more conservative in terms of what we approve, in terms of activities, etc. And again, not trying to be alarmist, just being transparent about the data and encouraging folks to be a little more mindful as we enter the home stretch here. We share every week how those cases distribute among our schools, our elementary schools here. As you can see from the general data in the previous slide, cases up across the district, a very, very notable spike at Otis Elementary, 29 cases there. And let me just say a little more about that. There were 29 cases that we confirmed at Otis. 23 of those 29 cases, our COVID team and county COVID liaisons are fairly certain now that 23 of those 29 cases were associated with an overnight field trip. We did contact the public health department right away this past Monday. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And despite that large number of cases, we did not shut a classroom down and did not close a school, obviously. We did, on the advice of county public health and per our protocols, really push in intensive daily follow-up testing to the impacted classes. So again, we will likely be a little more conservative in what we approve in terms of activities, just to make sure that we have a smooth end of the school year. Relative to what we just talked about, that big spike at a particular school, as I said, we did reach out to the county public health team right away. We do that in almost all cases. And it's important that the community know that public health at the county and state level are no longer recommending class or school closures in the event of outbreaks like the one we saw this week at Otis. Their priority, though both of those public health entities say that it is a priority, keep kids in school. And I think that's a byproduct of weighing the cost benefit of disease severity versus all of the other tolls that we know COVID and school closures have caused to kids, everything from mental health and isolation to increased academic challenges. So again, this is where we are in this evolution. Public health is no longer, even in an outbreak situation, no longer recommending class closures, school closures, or remote learning. So again, we will keep tabs on any developments that approach the size or scope of what we saw at Otis this week, and just want to let people know that our first response is going to be intensive testing. Obviously, that is an ongoing, everyday monitoring process, and we are in consultation with public health on every step. Our nurses are doing a tremendous job on this. As well as our COVID liaison team. Moving elsewhere to our middle and high schools, cases up there this week as well. Again, that aggregate number of 93 cases, biggest number that we've seen in a while. So again, to our middle and high school families, just asking folks to exercise a little more caution, double down on that request or that strong recommendation that we maintain indoor masking. And I have to say, from my frequent visits to our school campuses, since the mandate was lifted, I've seen very little change in the number of students wearing masks indoors. Certainly some change relative to outdoors. So if we could just kind of keep up that good work over the next couple of weeks, I think all of our lives will be made a little bit easier. So that is it for this week. Again, wanted to move away from COVID-centered updates, but again, in the interest of transparency, we felt it was important to get into a little detail on what happened this week. Please check our newsletter, our weekly newsletter, which is increasingly filled with some really great stories about stuff that our staff and our students are up to. And if there is anything else of note to report or urgent warranting report, we'll get back to you before this next update is scheduled. If not, we will talk to you then.